Welcome back. Hey, Chosen Family. Are you ready for a locked and loaded podcast? Jerry and I are coming in with the clinical lens, the expertise, and the sass to make you laugh, feel seen, and actually take something with you. Grab a spot on the couch and tune in.
Welcome to the Queer and Kinky Couch, where two queer therapists unpack today's culture, politics, and relationships through a mental health lens. My name is Jerry, and I'm a sex therapist, dog dad, and gym enthusiast.
I'm Jordan, a psychotherapist or a therapist, a person who loves to run and is really unapologetically loving good old reality TV. I mean, it's what helps me, what soothes me, so it's my jam.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get into the hot topics of this week. What do we have?
Today, we're going to be talking about the OG queen of reality TV and her return, Lenithia Nene Leakes.
Okay, Nene. Second thing we're going to talk about is the Scotts. Good old Desmond and Christy. We know them. We love them. Hate to see what's going on. And maybe just using our clinical lens and expertise when it comes to just being a couples therapist and just talking a little bit more about what we're seeing in the public eye.
And to close off hot topics, we wanted to kind of piggyback on that and close off with a section talking about body counts. Does body count actually matter?
Or sexual history in general. Is that something that we really need to be discussing and scrutinizing as part of our dating process moving forward?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, now let's break down some hot topics. I am for sure happy to hear about Nene Leakes getting back on to Bravo TV. What about you, Jordan?
I mean, it's Nene, and what was it? Housewives was the very first. Housewives of Atlanta was, I want to say, the very second franchise that they did, maybe after Orange County.
I'm not sure. I don't watch the other ones. I only watch, the ones all sisters on there.
I know, and with what I loved about Nene was the fact that she gave it to us. It felt like a real opinion, and her personality just let it coming through. It wasn't all of this overproduction, as they call it nowadays.
Mm-hmm. I've liked Nene from the beginning. In all honesty, she's the reason I started watching any of the Housewives, because she's hilarious, and she's very direct and very honest. Let's just call it for what it is. I think that Real Housewives of Atlanta, the black women who came in really put Housewives on the map.
I mean, let's do it.
Nobody was talking about Housewives in the way they were talking about Housewives until Nene Leakes got on our TV screens and really made Housewives a household name.
I mean, if we just think about the memes, right? What's still solid, and I use this to this day, is Who's Gonna Check Me Boo, right? Come on, like Sheree, her getting into it on television is still a good old-fashioned go-to. And the funny thing is, within our community, most people know that scene as soon as you don't even have to see the words. You just know that scene. You know Sheree, you know that outfit, you know that tight-ass little hairstyle situation she had going on. But you know it. And that was what I loved about Real Housewives of Atlanta. They kind of really helped us fall in love with memes, and they're just still so important today and so relevant.
As you were saying that, it made me think. No Read, No Shade, No Pink Lemonade, excluding Real Housewives of Potomac. What other memes do you know from Housewives that is still relevant to today, that you use often?
I can't say I really know any. And the thing is, this is when you know that they're producing themselves, is when they've rehearsed it and they're trying to come up with something they think is going to be catchy. So you can kind of tell us, you've been in the mirror or you've tried this, there've been a couple of takes, something along those lines, and they're just not hitting for me. What I love about Real Housewives of Atlanta is they did it and it was unintentional. It was just part of what happened. So it was very organic and natural, which is why we love it so much.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, black women just have the sauce and everybody else kind of wants to steal it.
I mean, isn't that always the case? I mean, those of us, when it comes to communities of color, we bring the spice, right? Shall we say?
We do. But it also makes me feel a certain kind of way with Nene Leakes returning. I feel like Nene was given a lot of heat. Now, granted, the stuff she said wasn't okay. She did make some allegations against the network and against Bravo Andy, or whatever his name is, or against Andy. But No Read, No Shade, No Pink Lemonade, I've seen other non-black housewives say some really incredibly horrible things, and they haven't even been suspended or taken off the network for it.
I know. I think it was a really big deal because of who she was and what that meant for the entire franchise. I mean, if we're just talking about reality TV, she is a pioneer. That does not mean, just for people to not come at me, is that she originated this word. But we talk about, at least for reality TV being seen a different way, especially when it came to the Housewives, that was Nene. I mean, we had all these other shows that came before, and we did watch. I mean, I was talking to my friends about, remember MTV True Life? That was reality TV, right? So surreal life, that was reality TV before it really had a lane. Real world, all of those things. But Housewives was different. And as I often explain it, it is ladies that lunch. It is an actual thing. So to find that and to be able to communicate that people and have that be aspirational in a sense. So I think that's what's really, really key kind of when it comes to the Housewives stuff.
Okay. I mean, I hear you.
So at BravoCon this year, they announced that there is a new series. It's a spinoff of Ultimate Girls Trip. Ultimate Girls Trip is where they invite different housewives from different franchises, some old or currently who are no longer on their show or on the cast, as well as current cast members, and they go on a trip somewhere. And it's generally somewhere more exotic. I think they may have started locally. They did actually. They've gone more exotic, and it's just them, and they're talking about their experiences, bringing the fourth wall down, because the idea behind these types of shows is you're shooting the show as if there's not production there. This is more us talking as colleagues and coworkers about what our experience is to be in this lifestyle, to have this type of job, to be a housewife. So they've done a spinoff of that, which is coming. And they announced that again as part of this BravoCon series that just happened in the past month or so. Is that this is going to be about different housewives, and they're going to be going on a road trip. And it's about showing the significance of the Housewives franchise in different places geographically. So a lot of the OGs have signed up for this. So we're talking about OGs or women who've been with the franchise for a number of years at this point.
That's actually pretty interesting. You know who I would love to see come back, but people call her boring, but she's my favorite.
Who?
Kandi. Because in all honesty, Kandi would be the perfect housewife to come back for this because she's going through a transition in her relationship on her own, like she's getting a divorce. But Kandi is one of those people who, I knew Kandi from Escape, so I've always loved Kandi then. But the Real Housewives of Atlanta put her in front of our eyes weekly. Yeah. And so it made her a star in a different kind of light. Now we know her as a personality, a TV personality above, above SW Escape.
Only thing I think about that is when it comes down to what the cost is going to be associated with both of them. I think that they can't afford a Kandi and a Nene for one cast.
You cannot.
Kandi and Nene, in terms of what they're going to bring in viewership, and they deserve this for all the work they've done, all the attention that they brought. It's going to be pretty costly. So I don't think it's going to be, they're going to get both of them on one cast.
You know, I always thought would happen was I knew that Nene would be gone. I knew Kandi was going to take a break. And I knew Phaedra was going to come back after Kandi took a break. I've always said this. And then Nene needs a season by herself coming back. Because that's going to be the big season, her coming back. That next season, Kandi should come back. And Phaedra should still be on there because they still have loose ends they need to tie up.
I like that idea. I think that there's so much of life that has happened for Nene that we know more so because she's in the public eye, but to get her rendition of what it is so we can just kind of get up to speed because we do love the life of Nene. So yeah. I do want to take a moment because, you know what? We haven't done maybe as good of a job as we can. We want to make sure that we're doing this for our viewers and listeners to make sure that we're inviting them in. So this is me as a member of our team here that's saying we have this big old comfy couch. The idea is for you all to give us your feedback. Do that in the comments. Tell us what you think about Miss Good Old Lanithia Leakes coming back to the Real Housewives franchise, please.
I like that idea.
Yes. All right, so moving right along, the next topic I have for us to discuss is about the Scotts. The infamous couple on social media, black couple, mind you, Desmond and Chrissy Scott. So they've been together for a number of years, but what's really intriguing is one, just from the public perspective, they're considered to be extremely gorgeous just in terms of their physical attraction, both him as well as her. And we've seen them kind of grow as a couple throughout the years when it comes to their social media presence because they've used their relationship and their kind of cutesiness interaction to also kind of promote different types of products and try different things out just to get a reaction from people. And I think it's a real good topic for us because we spend a lot of time with couples. So what is it like to be a couple that's under public scrutiny and also to have built your business around that? How can your marriage and your relationship really withstand that? Because even on a much smaller scale, there are a lot of couples that say, especially not the LGBTQ community, oh my God, I found my person. I got to make sure I put this all over social media that I love you and look at our dates and everything else. So let's just start with just kind of getting your opinion on the situation or what you kind of know about it thus far.
So what I know about the Scotts is I used to always just see them. They're like a social media couple. I think he's a chef. I'm not sure what she does. She does something as well, something in marketing, I believe. And again, they're a very attractive couple. And I think part of their lore was that they're a couple who put their relationship on social media so that, people who are in relationships would follow them. I think that that's fine. I don't think there's an issue with that. I think if you want to include your person in on how you make your money or how you do your social media, that's totally fine. I think the part of the relationship that got me a little not concerned or kind of got wheels turning in my head was when they decided to separate. They then had to make a public statement saying that they were separating, and everything that followed. And to me, no read, no shade, no pink lemonade. I follow these people and they're cool, but I don't need to tell you why I'm getting a divorce to anybody else because nobody's paying, like nobody's doing something for it. So why do I need to tell you that part? And I understand, like, maybe because he got caught kissing a woman in the club like a couple of days later, while that, would make sense. I don't know why people feel like they have to tell the world what they plan on doing.
I think in our community, and again, just kind of framing this around my clinical work with couples, and even some of my own personal experience, actually, I think it's a lot of pressure for everybody when you put your relationship on Front Street. What is left for you at that point is how I then see that. Because if you think about social media, it is letting people into your world, whether it's you have your profile locked down and you just have it for friends, family members, and an occasional colleague that you might have a closer relationship with. Your social media is generally something that you're curating that's for public consumption, right? And if you're putting your relationship out there, what you're essentially saying without using the words is it's up for public consumption. I have never been in a position where I ever felt comfortable with that. Now, mind you, just to be a bit more transparent, my situation is a bit different than most people because I was in a relationship since up until very recently, up until when social media was just really coming on board, where people started to talk a little bit more and use it more and show more of their lives. But even still, and even now that I've re-entered the dating world, I just think it's so important to have something for yourself, because if not, then you end up in these situations where if we have a fight, we have an argument, and especially if it's wrapped up with your business, then we now have to have a conversation, then we have to actually put it out to the media, and it's, well, is it really their business?
No, but I guess when you include businesses and enterprises and, like, I guess the fans, now people feel like I need to know what's going on or what's happening.
But it goes back to that question of what's in it for you. I mean, so when it comes to the couples and the work that I do, because this is the issue, what's a similar issue is, okay, now that we're separating, we need to take some time. What do we tell our friends and family? Really and truly, you should be telling them what the truth is. You're a human being. The other person's a human being. Y'all go through issues, so you might as well be honest about that with them. What else since you put it out there like that when it comes to social media, especially when it comes to friends and family, why not be able to have the conversation with them? Does it mean that you're not human, that y'all can't get back together?
True. Maybe because I'm private. I don't be telling people my business like that, because what are you going to do for me if I tell you that?
I mean, I think it's very individual. You need to know what you can withstand. For some people, they want to be more proactive, so they don't have to keep getting asked on a fairly regular basis, where's your spouse? Where's this person? I'm used to you all spending so much time together, or them being next to you, going to these types of events. So for some people, they find that may be anxiety inducing for them. That may be just too much for them emotionally to kind of withstand. So they want to proactively take that on. For other people, it's no, I don't really even talk about my business, so why even ask me this? So I'm not going to proactively tell you on my own. So it depends on the person. There's never a one size fits all in terms of the work that we do.
Yeah, you're right. The more you keep your stuff private, the less people can mess with it.
This is true.
Like, I think, for example, with that particular couple, from what I read, allegedly, she filed saying that he cheated on her. And
right.
Then he came out and said and admitted, I did some things wrong in my marriage. A few days later, we have a video of him kissing another girl at the club or whatever have you. I feel like that just fuels fire that he was like this person who was sexually loose, which makes sense. But I mean, he could have just kissed the girl. It doesn't necessarily mean he was sexually loose in that moment,
There's a sense of ownership that people have once you put yourself in this public space. And then on top of that, since you've tied it to your business, now you feel like there is no other option for you. And I hate to see that for you. I don't think that that's necessarily healthy. Building a brand and building a business shouldn't be contingent on a relationship to exist, because people change on a fairly regular basis, and you got to acknowledge that. No matter what your intentions are at the beginning of a marriage, it's never I want to get divorced. Typically, it's I want to be together with you for the rest of my life. But I don't have any crystal ball that's going to say that this is a possibility, or this is the guarantee, rather. There is no crystal ball that ever alludes to that. So go for it.
Could you stay with somebody after they cheated on you?
Yeah. I think it's different for different people, but since we're going to ask this question, you're going to be so bold to bring this up. I think it's about different circumstances for different people. So there's never going to be a blanket yes or no when it comes to this question. But what I think is so important, and again, I want to invite our audience in to get your opinion on this, is what's the verbal agreements? What was broken in terms of your verbal agreements? And is there a path forward? Cheating is an act. It's a mistake. And we're starting to equate these, and it could be depending on the person. I'm starting to equate this to, oh my God, this is such a bigger deal. Is it though? Because people make mistakes all the time. It's just one that somebody can recover from.
Yeah. I used to think that cheating was it for me. Like once you cheated or once I cheated, it's out. Like the relationship is done. But I used to look at how cheating was displayed, like on social media, on TV, and like, personal life. Like I knew people who were cheated on and how much it hurt them. Like, how can you come back from that? And cheating is not as deep as I once thought it was. There are other things I think that were a little bit more egregious. But like, kind of going back to what you said, it's like, what were the circumstances that cheating happened? And can we come back from, the cheating or the separation that we had in our relationship at that time?
I mean, what have you seen? Because I know I can tell you I have helped couples through infidelity. It's absolutely happened. I've been with this person for years. I've been in a marriage. This happened. Okay, well, some of the founding kind of guiding principles to this type of work is the relationship you had before is blown away. Why? Because that existed based off of verbal agreement that is now somebody has gone against, right? So they've done some action, infidelity against that. So it's okay. Do you desire to have something new with this person? And then we work from there. So, okay, here is this person, especially if they're acknowledging that they made a mistake and they want to get to a better place, because infidelity is just a symptom of a bigger problem, people. So there are bigger issues that need to be discussed. If you're willing to sit down to the table, if a person's willing to have that conversation and acknowledge, then there's work that can be done to get you to a better place. But it takes both people being able to come to that table.
What do you do if the other person who didn't do the cheating says, well, this is something the other person has to fix? Because I get that quite a bit. I usually say looking at the problem that way shows that there needs to be a little bit of growth on both ends.
Yeah. And again, if a person's not willing to meet you and say, like, you know what, there are issues, and if you're telling me that there are issues that cause you to be in this space, I want us to have a healthy conversation so we can get to a better place. Yeah. Not, this is on you. You fucked up. It's like, you go figure it out. So what does that mean? Because also what that leaves the other person open to is, okay, I'm forever going to be the one responsible for this situation, and I'm going to pay for it for the remainder of the time that you decide you want to be in a relationship with me.
Yes, that's. I was dating this one guy, and I didn't cheat or anything of that nature, but I did something he didn't like. And his for a little while, he would be like a little bit mean in certain things. And one time, I just had to say, okay, what's the problem? He said, well, you did this a few weeks ago. I said, well, we've talked about it and we've moved through it. He was like, well, I'm just going to keep acting like this until I feel like I'm healed from it. I said, what if I get tired first? He said, well, you're the person who did something wrong. I said, yeah, but you've forgiven me. Does that mean you're supposed to like drag me through the coals as if I don't have feelings? I stopped talking to him that same day.
Yeah, I love it.
Because what's wrong with you?
Oh my gosh, we go on and on for ages about this because I just have so many thoughts.
We're good.
Well, I think this brings us to the end of this segment. But again, here's encouragement. We want to make sure that you all are not just listening to us, but providing some feedback. This is a conversation to be had, and continuously. Not just, okay, we had this conversation, want to hear from you. Make sure that you're like telling us, especially in the comment section, what it is that what you feel strongly about, one way or the other. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're agreeing with us, because guess what? We don't agree all the time with each other. So there you go.
And we want to hear your perspectives, because I think there's a lot of perspectives that we just don't know. And it could shed a lot of light as to why people feel and behave the way that they do.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And to wrap up our hot topic section, we're going to be talking about body count. Does it matter? Does it not? Let's hear your answers.
I think this goes under a bigger topic of sexual history. And why does my past matter so much in regards to the present and the future if it had to do with different people?
So I always give a small story about body counts or sexual history, if it does or doesn't matter. I don't give a damn about your body count. That don't matter to me at all. I'm not going to ask you any of that stuff because it doesn't concern me. you are dating me now. Unless you're having sex with one of those people currently while we're dealing with each other, it has nothing to do with me.
Okay.
Now, the only time I'll ever really care about a person you've dealt with is if it puts me in a place with them and I don't know. I don't want to be the person who doesn't know what's going on around me. For example, when I first moved to DC, I was dating this guy. I never have asked any of my ex-partners what do their ex-partners look like because I don't give a damn. And I remember going to the gym. I mean, he knows I never, at the time, he knew that I did not know the guys he dated. So I go to the gym one day, regular day at the gym, and around lunchtime, my boyfriend at the time calls me. He goes, hey, did you get into it with somebody at the gym? And I'm like, no, nothing happened at the gym. He's like, was it a regular day? I said, yeah, I don't really talk to people when I go to the gym. I go to the gym, work out, and go about my business. He said, I have something to tell you when we get back to the house. So I'm like, okay, cool. I don't think anything of it. We get home and we're chilling. He's like, yeah, my ex called me and said that he saw you at the gym and you made a face at him. Girl, what? I said, I don't even know what this guy looks like. He said, I know, you never asked me what he looks like. That's how I know you didn't do that. And I was like, that's stupid and silly that he wanted to bring up this mess. It was only at that point that I asked him, what did he look like? Because I didn't want nobody running up on me at the gym and I don't know what you look like. And when he showed me who this person was, no read, no shade, no pink lemonade, he wasn't nobody like glamorous or nothing like that. He was very much somebody I would look past at the gym. So I knew I didn't make a face at him. But that's the only time I really want to know if something like a body count or something of that nature happens. Like, I don't want to be in danger. And then, that's when you tell me a body count or somebody had an issue with me. But all that other stuff, I don't care. You can tell me this boy was a hoe before he met me. That's fine. I like hoes. It's okay. I like them. I don't give a damn about none of that other stuff. I think most times it's more about sexual integrity. And is it okay for me to date you based on what I think about sexual history and people in general?
But doesn't that give it some sense of like relevance in the sense of, okay, it's just a test almost, so to speak, of if I can really be with you, if I can date you based off of knowing this explicit information.
Yeah, I mean.
Right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know. I feel like people put too much thought into what other people think about sexual history. Like, I think a lot of it is what we were told growing up, like from our parents, from our friends, from anybody. But I don't know. I don't see it that way.
But you know what? So this is my way of thinking about it. Ooh. I'm sorry. That sounds like judgment. How about you keep that to yourself?
Right.
Like, that's literally what it's about. I am very transparent. Now, let's have a conversation real quick about transparent versus honesty because people like to get these two confused. Okay, let's get into it. Honesty has to do with you being reactive. Somebody asks you a question, the expectation is that you are going to be truthful in your response. But you can do it in a very narrow way based off of a question that's being asked of you. Transparent is about like, hey, I'm proactively letting you know. I am proactive to let you know, one, I am not a spring chicken when it comes to my sexual experiences and exploring. So I have done that, and I'm going to give you that space and that leeway. So trust and believe I'm going to do that. Now, if you got judgment, that's going to be coming after I've done my transparency, like my spiel with you, which happens at different points with different people that I'm dating, then that just lets me know, like, oh, we don't need to deal with each other because it sounds like judgment.
Yeah.
That's what that sounds like. Oh, you have a problem with my body count. Like, I didn't ask you what yours was. I don't really care unless you want to, like, disclose that with me. What does your past have to do with the present? Do you respect your body? Like, that's a question to me that is actually a healthy one, a better one to ask. Do you respect your body? And how do you show that you respect your body when it comes to your sexual health? Boom, there we go.
And that's more of a current question than it is a past question.
It is. Because you know what? Some people can have had 3 partners. Some could have had 55. What's the difference between the two in terms of their character, their values, and where they stand today? So, I don't know. I just think it's a real silly question when it comes to dating for people to have at the front of their mind. If anything, you should trust and believe that if you're spending time with somebody and they think enough of you that they're going to share what they think is pertinent information about their past that you would need to know.
I don't think I've ever been on a date or in a relationship with a guy where like that stuff, like body count came up. We talked about like sexual things we've done sexually with somebody else. Like, oh, we had a good time. We did this or that and the other. But I've never really asked about like counting.
I mean, what you doing? Keeping a body counter there? Like, ooh, okay, I'm sorry. This was a hookup moment. So let me go make sure I go in the app and that's another body count. Let me press the body on there and that equals body count in the app. Right? Come on.
It's a little dated, but I mean, I think people associate sexual history and shame with body count.
They do.
They try to shame you for your body count.
They absolutely do. But guess what?
If I have a higher body count, it just means people enjoy having sex with me more than you.
I mean, this is true.
Maybe. Is that it?
I think that's it, friend.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Chosen Family, for tuning in. And we are going to move into our Couch Confessionals section next. I'm so excited. I'm here for it.
I'm excited about this one, too.
I know. Our first one. Welcome to Couch Confessionals, where the group chat meets the therapy couch. You send in the questions you're scared to ask out loud, and we take them seriously, gently, and sometimes with a little bit of side eye. Everything's anonymous and everything is handled with care. Let's get into today's confession.
All right. Confession letter number 1 is titled, Recovery Isn't Just Sobriety. It's Getting My Soul Back. Hi, gentlemen. I'm writing because I'm finally in a place where I can tell the truth without dressing it up. I'm a Black gay man in my 30s, and I'm in recovery from crystal meth. I didn't start using meth because I was reckless or party obsessed. I started because I was tired. Tired of being in my own body. Tired of feeling invisible in rooms full of people. Tired of the way hookup culture made me feel like I was auditioning for love and somehow still failing. At first, it felt like Crystal gave me the access to a version of myself I always wanted to be. Confident, desired, unbothered, the kind of man who could walk into any space and not second guess everything. I could talk longer, laugh harder, be more sexual, and be more fearless. It felt like I finally got a chance to exhale. But what I didn't understand what was happening was quietly teaching my nervous system that I couldn't be wanted unless I was altered. And the racism piece, woo, that part is heavy. I've been in spaces where white men treated me like a fantasy or a secret. I've had men talk to me like I'm hot for a Black guy, or assume I'm automatically dominant, or assume I'm automatically there to perform. I've also been in Black spaces where I felt judged for being too queer, too soft, or too something. Like I didn't fit the version of Black masculinity that people wanted me to be.
So I started believing that I had to earn my place everywhere. In white spaces, I had to be palatable. In Black spaces, I had to be tough enough. In gay spaces, I had to be hot enough. And in kink spaces, I had to be experienced enough. And Crystal became the shortcut to all of it. I'm sober now and I'm proud of myself, but I'm not going to lie. Sometimes sobriety feels like I lost my social life, my sex life, and my confidence all at once. Like I'm learning how to be intimate from scratch. Like I'm learning how to flirt again. Like I'm learning how to be seen without a chemical shield. What's been messing with my head lately is the internalized hate. Not just I use drugs, but the deeper thing. Why did I think I needed to disappear from myself to be lovable? Why do I still hear that voice saying you're not enough unless you're exciting, extreme, or available? And I'm also struggling with resentment. I've seen how quickly people will judge folks who use, but still participate in the same environments that keep it going. I've been treated like I'm broken. Now when I know some of those same people were right next to me at 3 a.m., acting like everything was normal. I guess my question is, how do you rebuild your self-worth and sexuality after meth? When your addiction was tangled up with racism, rejection, and needing to feel chosen. Because sometimes recovery feels less like getting clean and more like grieving the person I thought I had to be to survive. Thank you for holding space for this, D.
Oh, this is pretty deep. It's a pretty deep confessional. D, thank you so much for writing in and sharing this with us. I know it takes a lot to take this veil off and just be transparent about certain things. You know, I too want to be transparent. I'm in recovery from crystal meth, so I know a lot of these feelings, especially racism, feeling very performative, and also there is this expectation of you walking into the room. And the first thing I would encourage you to do is get a therapist. Get a therapist who's going to be able to walk with you along this journey to help you figure out the pieces of you that are there and the pieces of you that were still connected to crystal meth or people who are connected to it?
I want to just echo what you started off with first and foremost, because I think it's so important that we call out D for just trusting us as individuals, as clinicians and therapists, that they were willing to write into us and to trust us with what is their truth. Because if we're being very honest, there are a lot of people who are just not at a place where they're able to share or even seek out the assistance, right? Mm-hmm. Not even just share with the intent of trying to get to a better place, but just even acknowledge and say, this is an issue I'm struggling with. There's so many people within our community, especially those who are Black and gay, who are not talking about this as an issue.
And I can speak, like, in my own experience, I remember the first time I wanted to, like, say something to somebody, like a Black gay guy. One, she ran her mouth. She told the other people. And two, the thing that I would hear often is, how you have that white man drug? Like, that's white people drug. And it's just like, I don't need to hear that in this moment. What I need to hear is, hey, this is how I can help you. Thank you for sharing that with me, or something of that nature. But I think that we place race or ethnicities on certain drugs, and then that leads to shame and people not wanting to come out and say anything because they want to feel judged. And we, in our community, specifically Black gays, we can be some judgmental queens.
We absolutely can. Just kind of going back to the heart of this message about you mourning the person that you needed to be, and something where, and this is maybe really helpful for whatever therapist you're going to be working with to know, is that there may be a lacking of a sense of self-worth because there is a need to be more than who you are as an individual. Whoever you are, D, I want you to know, however you show up in the world, that's good enough. All that matters is you. And so you don't need any type of substance, whether it's crystal meth, whether it's marijuana, whether it's something harder, whether it's something that's alcohol. You don't need anything else to be any other person or be any other way, because you're good enough. That's where we see this issue is, I need to be more than who I am and how I show up in the world if I'm going to be accepted, especially within the LGBTQ community. That's how this kind of seeps into so many people's lives.
I agree 1,000%. Who you are and how you show up in this world is enough. I think that the more you start to embrace who you are and I guess the quirks that make you you, the less you'll feel the need to be in an altered reality. I had to embrace the things that I like. Actually, I had to embrace the things that people told me I should hate about myself, because those are the things I try to run away from. And I think a nice pullback is the people you keep around you. Your friends love you, and they typically don't love you for no reason. Like, I remember when I first told Jordan, I actually asked Jordan to come to me to a CMA meeting. That was really lifting the veil of like, hey, bitch, this is what's going on in my life, and I need you there as a friend to support me.
Well, let's talk about, even, because some people may not know the difference between the different meetings, and we definitely want to do our due diligence and say, because most people know AA, right? Alcoholics Anonymous. But what are the different types of meetings that are available for those people who know that they have a pattern of misusing substances?
So I chose Crystal Meth Anonymous, which is why we call it CMA. And if you Google Crystal Meth Anonymous meetings, you can find meetings locally in your town. You can also find virtual meetings 24 hours a day. So my fear was, because I'm used in graduate school, or toward the end of graduate school, and I went to graduate school in Atlanta, I was so fearful that I would run into somebody that knew me for some odd reason. And so I wanted to make sure that I was go further out to get the help that I needed, when really none of that kind of stuff matters. But if you do CMA online now, you can choose to go outside the US, you can choose to go to a different state. So you are less likely to run into somebody else that may see you and may expose your business before you're ready to.
I think so for me in my practice, I was not familiar with this type of issue until the past year. And then based off of my experience with clients is having to learn more, and Jerry's been super helpful with that. So I guess I'll go back to just something Jerry mentioned, which was that you invited me to a CMA meeting. For me, support is support, regardless of what a person is asking for support for. As long as I can show up and I have the ability, the bandwidth, the capacity to do so, I'm going to do that. Secondly, my life is not about judgment, because we've all made mistakes. So going back to this bigger issue, if people are going to think what they want to think, let them. Think whatever you need to about me, because I don't need to jump in your mind. I don't need to necessarily take on what are your perceptions of me. I need to be focused on what does it take to be the best version of me. And so knowing this, I saw this as an opportunity for us to grow closer. He trusts me. Let me go back to it. He's being transparent. I didn't ask because I wouldn't know. So I can't ask him and expect him to be honest with me. He has to feel comfortable enough to say, he's not going to probably know this based off of my presentation, whatever that may be in terms of how he physically looks or what he says or anything along those lines. But I trust Jordan enough. And I saw that and interpreted that as, if he trusts me enough, if you trust me as a friend, then I need to show up, I need to support. And going to a meeting is absolutely, I adore that. I've been to meetings before with other folks, and I think it's a great place for people to find that support that helps motivate them to continue to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah. I would definitely say, like, you coming as a friend really meant a lot, because I think that people are fearful. Like, we don't know. Like, if I never had this experience, I probably would have never known. But when somebody reaches out and says, hey, can you do this for me? You don't have to know the answers. Sometimes you just have to kind of go.
Yeah, I absolutely. I love that. My experience with it, and so it wasn't with crystal meth, and this is along the same line, so bear with me, but this is worth disclosing, and I'm happy to be transparent myself. When we went through COVID, I know that I did excessive amount of drinking, to the extent that I said, you know what, I'm not making maybe the best decisions in terms of my behavior, so I'm just going to take a step back. And that's what that meant. Now, I didn't know to what extent I would be doing that, so it was, okay, let me take a step back. And then I started to say, I determine if it was about me being dependent on alcohol to get through that period. So I went through AA meetings. I talked with other individuals, and I decided I would just take on sobriety as something I would do. And what I learned about myself through exploration is alcohol is an issue in terms of, I feel like I need it as a constant in my life, and using it causes an issue. It is that at times I sometimes misuse that. So what I decided I would do is I would just take my break, and I've still been on a break so many years later, but that's for me. And I tell other people, and they have this judgment sometimes about it. It's like, oh my gosh, the idea that you're not drinking, like, what's wrong with you? I made a decision, a conscious choice about my behavior and being mindful, and I decided to move away from that. And that's what I'm doing. So, yeah.
I think a lot more people, not to be too judgmental, but I think a lot more people have an unhealthy relationship with alcohol than more people would like to admit. I think people, because it's illegal, people forget that, you can't have a bad relationship with alcohol. No, you can. If you have to have a drink when you're going out all the time, if you have to have a drink at the end of every hard day, if you're having those kind of unhealthy relationships with alcohol, then I think you may want to revisit your relationship with alcohol, and not just the harder drugs like crystal meth, cocaine, weed, all the other stuff. I think that there's a lot to say about those things too.
Well, I guess kind of bringing this back to our original point for our couch confessional today. And again, Dee, thank you for just being so open and transparent. Is the first step is acknowledging you have an issue. And then the second step is getting the appropriate resources with therapy, with going to a support group, whether it's Crystal Meth Anonymous, if you're having issues with your crystal meth usage, or if it's just going to AA for alcohol. If you're having issue with alcohol, there are other meetings as well. So you're on the right path because you're willing to be open and transparent, and hopefully you can just get the support and resources that you need to maintain that.
And if you can, my suggestion is find a sober friend. If you know somebody who's in those meetings, if you know somebody personally, find a sober friend that can continue the sobriety journey with you, because it's nice to explain something without having to explain too much detail in the background. And when you go into CMA meetings or AA meetings, you tend to find people who understand those feelings.
I could not agree more. So I'm going to take this as an opportunity to ask, hey, for everybody else that's listening to this, send in whatever you have for us anonymously. Yeah. You see how we handle it. You see we're pretty good at what we do. So send in more. The link will be available via the YouTube. So there you go.
We can't wait to hear from you.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. So we've come to that time in the show where it's the segment that I typically lead, Jordan here, for Fix Your Life or Don't. And the intention behind this specific segment is there's different tools, cognitive tools, that I've developed, learned, and or heard about that is extremely helpful for my clients. And I thought this is a good platform to bring them on to further help other people. So again, fix your life or don't. And for today, the topic or cognitive tool is about dating. So dating is an intentional act. It takes time, effort, and energy. If a person is not intentional in their approach, do you continue to date them in any serious or significant way?
I want to throw your curveball and say, yeah, I would. Because I agree with you. I think dating is intentional, but dating could also sometimes be fun. Like, if I know you're a liar, but you got good sex, and we have a good time, but I know you're a liar, I know what this is. Let me accept this for what it is and not try to put more into what is actually in front of me. Now, On the flip side is if you're lying to me and telling me something I want to hear versus actually being transparent about who you are.
The reason I came up with this way of thinking about dating, and again, it's a cognitive tool, just like thinking of dating as this intentional act, is because I can't tell you how many times clients sit across from me and they're upset because the way a person is showing up when they're supposed to be dating, in terms of responding to text messages, in terms of making logistical plans for the next time they're going to see each other in person, it's lacking, if barely there to begin with. So then my question is this really intentional dating by both parties? Now, if you think about meeting a person, today's world, there are dating apps and there's hookup apps. So hookup app example is Sniffies, it's Jacked, it's Grindr. But dating apps have a little bit more intentionality behind them. We're talking about your Facebook dating, Hinge, Tinder, for example. So if somebody's on there and they've gone through the effort of putting up a profile, putting up a picture, and matching with you, generally speaking, you're thinking about, okay, this is dating. I want to get to know you to see if this makes sense for us to move forward because I'm looking for something that's more serious. Now, I guess I get your point where sometimes dating is casual, but I feel like those parameters should be discussed kind of head on in the beginning. Your thoughts?
I agree. I definitely think that we should definitely cover like what our intentions are, which will lead to less upset. But then as you were talking about Jacked and Sniffies versus Tinder and the other ones, from what I understand, like Jacked is now trying to move in a social media or social dating aspect where they have stories. I haven't been on Jacked in a while, so I don't know. Where they have stories, and so they're trying to change that, which leads me to believe, as you're talking, I think a lot of times, intentional dating is good when you have people who are intentionally trying to do it. I think a lot of us date thinking that we're supposed to or out of loneliness and don't really put the intention part in front of there, or we date until we find somebody that we're worth putting attention behind.
So something I'm gonna throw out there is, and I feel this happens often just based off of my experience with so many clients, is dating as a form of validation.
Yes.
I don't have a high sense of self-worth no matter how many times I work out, no matter how many times maybe even I go to a bar or a lounge and I get hit on. So the other way I go about it is, hey, let me go on a dating app. Let me post pictures of me shirtless or looking a certain type of way. And let me see how many people match with me. And that affirms something I can't do for myself, right? I can't validate myself, but look at that. I can go on this app and see that I've matched with 10 people, 15, 20 people. So it becomes more about it being a validating factor in their life in terms of dating and the use of this app versus like, no, this is an intentional act. This is something I'm using because I want to find somebody that I'm going to spend significant amount of my time with.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think it's validation. And I think sometimes a lot of people need the, am I good enough? Could I get you if I wanted to? And then afterward, it's like, oh, well, the chase was cute, but I don't necessarily have all the tools or have the skills or have the desire to be in a fully committed courtship, partnership, whatever ship that you decide to build with that person.
Another way that I like to frame it for clients is to think about dating like you're looking for a job. If we think about looking for a job in the modern world, it takes time, effort, and energy, just like dating. You can say, I want a new job, but you have to set aside that time because it's an exhausting process. In today's world, you're often reformatting your resume. You want to make sure it's most up to date based off of the job that you're applying for, not just in general. So there's a lot of effort behind it. So you want to take your time and be extremely intentional. If you feel like, hey, I'm getting tired, I'm getting exhausted, well, that's generally a good time to step away because what could happen, you're going to apply for a job or put yourself out there for a role that doesn't align with who you are. And is that something that you're expecting that you're gonna feel like that's a healthy decision that you're making? No. So the same thing when it comes to dating. Ooh, sweetheart, if you're too tired, how about you just not put the phone down? It's not about going through the profiles anymore. How about they will be there if it's worth something, if you're meant to be, that next time around you decide you want to go through and pick up the phone and look through the apps. How about that?
I like that idea. I only have a little bit of pushback with how dating is looked at, how you look at it as a job. I understand, like, having your skills and stuff being in the front. I've learned, because I used to date, like I would date with intentions. Like I remember, God, now that I think about this, this is a while ago.
Okay.
But I remember I used to, like, within the first couple of dates, and if you are any of the guys I went on dates with, God forgive me now. The first 2 dates, I need to know, do you plan on getting married? Is marriage important for you? Do you know how many people you scare off by asking that same fucking question? Like, is marriage important to you? It might be, but bitch, I ain't marrying you. You know?
Okay. I wonder if that also has to do with age, right? So if you ask somebody that in their 20s and 30s, I absolutely see that being something that they are fearful of. Oh my God, that lockdown. Versus, I'm part of the 40 plus club. So I feel it's really important. Yeah, gee, wonderful. Wonderful for you. But anyways, I feel like it's an important question to know because I just hate wasting my time and I hate wasting yours. And I need to know certain things because if it's a non-negotiable, that's what really informs those types of conversations. You need to know like, hey, is this a non-negotiable? For me, it's not non-negotiable if somebody wants to get married. So that's completely okay. But for the next person, they may feel differently. So it is important that you have that conversation towards the beginning because if not, if you're even 4 dates in, you haven't found that information out the first date, that was a lot of time wasted.
It could be third, fourth date. Yeah, I guess. I guess I wouldn't know when to ask that question in a healthy manner, but also the importance of marriage has gone away. Lifetime partnership for me has like exceeded that because marriage to me, like when I ask that question, marriage, it's like, are you ready to be committed? Are you ready to share like a life with someone? And you could have those things without being married. So like being more clear with what my request was to see if we're in the same space, if that makes sense.
I know, but really, if we're talking about today's modern man and dating, I mean, we got to start with like, are you even able or ready to take on a long-term relationship? Like, I mean, we're speaking, huh?
People will say yes. And I honestly do think that people do believe that they can, but no, they're not.
Well, here's a question I had to respond to that. What work have you done to substantiate that outside of yourself?
People often say, I don't cheat, I'm nice, and I come home. That does not make a good relationship. Those are nice qualities. But that's not all that keeps the relationship, positive. Like, are you a collaborator? Do you understand? Do you understand that sometimes it won't be 50-50? Like, are you a person who's supportive? Can I, lean on you to pray for me when I can't pray for my damn self? Those things.
But that's why I come back to this question. Well, what have you done that signifies that, right? That says that I am at this place where I'm going to be an optimal partner. What can you do? What can you speak to outside of just yourself and your self-assessment that says I'm in the best place I've been my entire life to really take on dating in a very intentional way to find a lifetime partner?
Ooh. What would be a good answer for that? Because I've seen a therapist. I have been a little bit more patient with myself. I know my social skills. I know, my pits.
Oh, you want to go there? It's real simple. It's okay. For me, I see it as a lot simpler. By no means wanting to speak for anybody else. But it is, I know what my flaws are and I'm constantly working on them. I know what my issues are in terms of even what my partner may have spoken about in the past that may have legitimacy. And I'm making sure that that's at the forefront of my discussions with my therapist. So that's a good way to go about it. But if you just talk about I move through life and I'm, to your point, not a cheater and I come home every single night and I'm making sure that you're the priority. Oh, that's cute. That's wonderful. But we're talking, that's like at the rudimentary level of what it takes to get on this ride.
Those are very basic things.
Ooh, Lord, really? Come on now.
Those are very, very basic things. And I think a lot of times people think that those basic things make them relationship material. Sweetheart, it's so much more than that.
This is why I want to tell people all the time when it comes to this whole dating and dating with intentionality. Like, I am probably not your cup of tea because I believe in dating in the truest traditional sense of showing up. So, I mean, don't let the face fool you. Like, yes, I'm out here and I'm wanting to date, but there's more that comes with this face when it comes to dating. Just putting it out there.
It's more than just the likes.
It's always more than just the likes. I'm just saying,
I don't know. I think people look at, outside appearances and what you have and try to convince themselves that they should be in a relationship with you because of what you look like. I can't tell you how many times I've gone on a date. Well, we look good on paper together. What the hell does that mean?
Oh my gosh, it's a laundry list of I wants, which is very different than a non-negotiable list. And non-negotiable list is something I definitely want to touch upon. It's not going to be today, but that's totally different than the I want list because you can have an I want list for forever and a day. I doubt there's anybody that's ever going to stack up to it, but good luck to you.
This is true.
Well, I guess we'll leave it there today. I think we've very thoroughly covered this subject for Fix Your Life or Don't.
And remember, we want to hear from you, so please have a seat on the couch and comment. Add your comments and tell us what your experiences are.
Please do.
Welcome to Unbound, the segment where we bring all the dark questions into the light. And today we want to focus on exploration. A lot of my clients come to me and ask about exploration and like, what does it actually look like? What if you want to explore certain things? Where do I even start? What do I know what I like? And I always encourage them to start off with things that, you might be interested in the bedroom and outside of the bedroom. And if you're still curious or you're still lost in the sauce, there are 2 websites I want to share with you that can start you off a little bit. And one is kinktest.org. That's KINK, test, TEST.org. And you can follow the test and it will give you your scores on what are some kinks that you might be interested in. The other one is bdsmtest.org. That's bdsmtest.org. And you take these tests and it tells you what are some things that you might be interested in based on the responses that you give. What I will say is try not to be in the middle of the road. If it asks you, like, do you like to be spanked? And they'll say yes, maybe, or no. Try to stay out of the middle because the middle won't really give you the answers that you're looking for. Try to go a little bit more extreme, yes or no, whether it's something that you would like or something that you're thinking about or something that you're just like a no for. And from that list, it'll give you some ideas and explore from there. Whether you're single or with a partner, you can make this really intimate by, sharing this with your partner and seeing some things that you guys actually might like to try. What do you think about kinks and fetishes? What were your first thoughts on those things?
You know what? So I was not a guy who spent a lot of time, y'all, talking about kinks and fetishes. It wasn't my thing until I met you. And I met another wonderful friend that we now share. And you all taught me more about this and also what the comfort was, because there is so much stigma.
Yes.
Right? When it comes to talking about sex in this type of way. So I just had to say, like, first, I thank you and our other friend for kind of like providing this type of space where you can feel comfortable talking about kinks and fetishes. I actually get a little bit stuck when it comes to the difference between the two. I know if you explained it to us and to the audience as well, it's still very difficult for me. But what I will say when it comes to exploration is it's super important to understand what it is that you like in those areas so that it's kind of a sense of agency, so to speak. Like you get to know, and this is something you get to inform others on. Just like you go and inform you figure out what your hairstyle is that you like. I need to find out what I like when it comes to kinks and fetishes too.
Yeah. And what you don't like, because somebody could have a kink or a fetish that you don't care for. So a kink, I think, is something that doesn't necessarily need to happen during sex. It's something that you like spanking. It doesn't have to happen in every sexual encounter. Whereas a fetish needs to be there in their room. A fetish is like a foot fetish or something of that nature. I need this in order to reach climax or in order to have this good experience with this particular person. Those are like the basic difference. There's more, of course, if you do a little bit more reading, but those are like the surface level differences between the two. And I became a little bit more comfortable with kinks and fetishes and exploration because sex was not something we talked about at home very much. And I was very, very curious. And I lucked up and ended up talking to people who are a little bit older than me about sex being a little bit more safe, but like exploring things and not being too shy to explore, certain things, whether it's individual or with other people. I will say this space I learned a little bit more about. There weren't a lot of Black people talking about kink and fetishes, unfortunately, at that time. And so I knew it was something I wanted to explore a little bit more, but I also knew that the spaces that I went to, there wasn't a lot of us in there. And so I had to kind of like figure out like why that was. And even though I'm a very open person with talking about kinks and fetishes, I think people associate because you're open and talking about certain things that you'll do them. Where it's more so, I'm a free person. I don't mind, discussing certain things, and I'm not a judgmental person in that sense. What you do with your sexual health or where your sexual experiences is basically on you. It's my duty to help you find out how to do that in a safe way, in a way that's not shameful to you while you're doing it, or even a way that you shame yourself after.
I find that it's very black and white, especially within our community. It's either you don't talk about it, you don't do it, you do it or you don't, but you are under the guise that it's best not to talk about it. Or if you do talk about it, though, that means you're absolutely with it, right? That means you absolutely have to be 100% for whatever the kink, whatever the fetish is, that you have to be open to it. That's not what that means.
No.
It's about a person's comfort level being able to talk about this.
Yeah.
Now, something that comes up, and I promise this is related, but it's just worth saying. You know those moments where it's a client says in a session, whether it's a couple or it's an individual client, they say like, I don't know if this is TMI.
They say that to me too, and I'm like, I'm a sex therapist. You can talk to me about anything.
Right. Well, and I do a lot of sex therapy work with my couple. So I'm by no means have the sex therapy certification that big boys you have. I have a smaller one, which I am very appreciative of. I am sex therapy informed professional. But all that being said, it is quite hilarious when clients come to us and it's just them saying, which is just our little funny moment to ourselves, generally as therapists, is this TMI? No. And quite frankly, this is about what's healthy and what's not. So when you're not talking about what you're seeking, what you fantasize about, what your thoughts are around your sexuality, that's denying a sense of yourself. Right. We need to be able to talk about that.
I've also learned that typically when a client says this might be TMI, there's some level of, I don't know if it's embarrassment or shame or like maybe I shouldn't be talking about this to other people. And it's like, no, like we need to have a space where we can talk about this stuff, especially like in my sex therapy room. There's nothing you can tell me that I haven't seen, heard, experienced, or a combination of the three. This is a safe space for you to be able to say, you know, I want to try this, and is it healthy? Now, the where I draw the line, I think where everybody will draw the line is if it's harmful to somebody who is not consensual, who is in there. Also, if it's a person who is not in a mature headspace to make a decision, that means anybody under 18 or somebody who doesn't have the cognitive ability to make those choices on their own.
Nothing's more interesting than when you have a couple and you ask them to start doing the exploration of kinks and fetishes, y'all, and they haven't done it. And a lot of couples, you've been together for years and you haven't done it. And I don't know if you've experienced this. I'm not going to speak for you, friend. But I'm going to tell you, chosen family, I had this experience go down, and it is quite interesting on the other side because couples do not have this type of conversation with, no matter how long they've been together. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen this where they're not having a conversation about their fetishes, their kinks, about what it is they like or what they even want to experiment and try.
But I think a lot of people are fearful, even if you're married to a person or been with them for a while, a lot of people are fearful of being judged. Like if I tell you I like to be spanked while I was wearing my grandma's outfit, like, you're going to judge, why do you have to have your grandma's outfit on? Like, that, like, most people want to know why is that so they can judge you on that. Where it's kind of like, where if it's like, oh, that's just not my thing, not because for whatever reason, people have different ways on how they approach those kinds of subjects.
Here's my way around that. I want people to really take note as best you can. Is a real good way to just helpful be with that is if it's a judgment and it's coming your way, what does this judgment say about the other person? Because we internalize it ourselves, especially when it comes to our sexuality or the physical acts of sex or fetishes or kinks, anything along those lines. I explore, I know I like this. I like water sports, right? We'll use that one as an example. For those that don't know, water sports is people like to play with fluids when it comes to the body.
A little pee-pee.
A little pee-pee, a little bit, right? And you try to say that out loud and say people are going to treat you a certain way. What does it say about them? What does it say about what they're willing to be open to and what they think about you? Because it doesn't, you saying that does not absolutely mean like, oh, okay, I like water sports, so that means I automatically want to do water sports with you. That is not what that means. Right.
It just means that it might be something they're curious about. It doesn't mean I want to experience it with you. I remember, as a matter of fact, this boy that I dated when I first moved here, I asked him about poppers. I said, have you ever heard about poppers? He said, I ain't doing them and you ain't doing them either. That was the exact response to me. I said, oh, baby, put my pussy in my bag and leave. Because what? What?
You said, let's pack it up. Let's pack all of this up.
All the way up. And it wasn't that, like, I'm not a poppers person because it can give you a headache. I'm up and down with them. But it wasn't that he didn't want the poppers. It was just that there was not even a conversation. It was just like, I'm not using them and you're not using them either. That's that. And I was like, ooh, see, what if I think about what if I wanted to try something else with you? Because of how you responded to that, now I know I can't bring anything else to you, or I don't want to because I want to feel judged off that immediate assumption. Like, I would have rather him ask me, what do you think about it? Like, even if he said, no, thank you, I don't want you, I would rather you not use them because of the smell or whatever have you, I would have received that better. But him closing and shutting it down almost immediately was like, ooh, yeah, no thank you, honey bunch.
You know what? This makes me think about a popular kink that I see quite often on the apps. Ooh, Lord, am I telling a little bit of myself? I don't really care. I really don't. It's when you, especially in the hookup apps, you see a lot of men who will either say and or show that they like underwear, whether it's women's underwear, women's stockings, or just wearing men's underwear and wearing like just that. There's a very big underwear fetish, so to speak, and it's one where they just will tend to wear it and they won't. But you know, it's something that is still seen as very taboo because oftentimes those people are for sure the ones that are not going to show their face. It is, you have to be engaged with me for me to feel comfortable to let you know it's me showing off an underwear fetish or that I, or saying that I like that.
That's so interesting. I never really thought about it that way.
When you think about the fetishes and maybe also the kinks as well, people are generally listing those, but oftentimes they're not associating that with their own faces, their physical, like this is how I present or who I am essentially. It's no, because of the stigma, because of the shame maybe that I feel.
And because girls talk too much. Like, I hate to say it, but like, how many times have you heard somebody say some tea about somebody you don't know just to tell the tea? Like, there's no reason. They just, oh, I know this tea about this person, I'm going to tell you.
You know, if you don't want anybody to know, then don't tell anybody. I mean, yes, I know ultimately we kick ourselves in the butt for this, but you know what, at the end of the day, if you don't want nobody to know, don't say nothing.
Here's the thing. I may not have told you. I may have told it to somebody I felt comfortable with, and they ran them off and told you. So it's kind of like, well, if I don't say anything, also, how do I find other people who have my same kink or have my same fetish if I don't say anything?
But you got to feel comfortable if you say that. You got to own that stuff, right? Like that, like ownership is so big in my world as I see it, and that's what I encourage amongst like people, and as well as amongst my clients. You got to own your shit. Like, if this is how I am, this is what I like, I got to own that shit. And I got to, like, and if I own it, here's the thing. Once I own it,
you can't harm me with it.
You can't harm me with it. It's like, I'm good. I'm totally good on that. So it's like, I own this shit. I know that Jordan is like this. Oh, I'm going to talk shit on Jordan. You can't talk shit if I'm cool with it.
Big time. That's very true. And honestly, that's why I came out with my story of addiction, because I have to own my story. You have to own your parts. Otherwise, people will take your story and they'll rewrite it to a way that fits them. Also,
and I'm going to be honest in this moment and talk about so many guilt, so many pieces of my life where I felt there was guilt and shame in terms of the way I acted or the way I behaved. And you got to be able to own that shit so you can move forward. And I also, like, Jerry's been a true friend in providing the space for me to be able to do that. Because by me being able to talk about it and get to a place where I can own this shit, I'm living a better life. I kid you not. And it's what I encourage everybody to do. I own my shit, own my flaws, own my mistakes so that nobody else can try to use it against me. Yeah. I have so many people who sit across from me on the therapy couch and they're concerned about somebody using that against them. Well, let's talk about what it is and you taking ownership so that they can know it, and they can try to use it, but it's only a weapon if you let that be a weapon against you.
That is true.
So I want to thank you all, our chosen family, for listening to us, for watching us. We've really loved this experience thus far. And I want to encourage you, just based off of our conversation today, to really think about your approach when it comes to dating. There's being intentional, and time, effort, energy, again, is what's required, what we talked about today. And if you're wanting to find that person, if you want to vet, make sure that you know that going into the process and that you are vetting other people appropriately against that. If they're looking for it, they want it, make sure that they know. Maybe they want something casual, and that's okay too, but just being on the same page is just really, really important. But again, thank you, and please like, subscribe, follow us. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, and we want to hear from you all. We really, again, just appreciate you all taking some time and just listening to us.
Yeah. If you want to be a part of our Couch Confessionals, please make sure that you click on the link on our Instagram bio and you could submit stories anonymously. We are looking forward to hearing from you. Stay kinky.